Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world. Talking about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. All right. There's no perfect off season, right? Some things just don't go your way. So what are you going to do when that happens? You have roster holes to fill already. Now, if guys that you want to re-sign go somewhere else, what are you going to do? These are players who can fill roster holes and also fill in those gaps from departing free agents. But before we do that, make sure everyone please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It's a great way to support. It's absolutely free, and it's the absolute bare minimum you can do to help this channel grow besides doing absolutely nothing. All right, guys, let's get to it. Okay, the first big roster hole is already being filled. We traded for Geno Smith with Seattle Seahawks. That's going to be our starting quarterback, so we don't need to worry about that for right now. Up next is the running back position. Now, I really want to focus on the draft with running backs. I want to draft at least 2 running backs. There's a lot of really strong running backs in this class, and I think you can go young with running backs and build for the future. But if you want to get a veteran presence in here who's still in his prime and has a lot of good years left, there's a couple of good options. Javonte Walker from the Broncos is only 25 years old. He's being ranked as the 5th running back out there in free agency, and I think he has some good years left. He's been shown to play with speed and power, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. He could be a good veteran presence for this team and these young running backs that we're going to get in the draft. Another guy we can get is Cam Akers from the Vikings. Now, he played with the Rams as well. He's only 26 years old. He had some injury concerns earlier in his career, but he seems to be pretty healthy right now. He's a quick, knifing running back who's been shown to be able to come up big in big games. And the good thing is, he might come pretty cheap. With all the running backs out there in free agency and in the draft, you may get a Cam Akers for a really good deal. All right, up next is the wide receiver spot. Okay, it's a no-brainer. The top wide receiving free agent right now is T. Higgins. Yes, I understand that he was franchise tagged, but he still may be available. We talked about this during the offseason plan. Sometimes the franchise tag is put on a player as a placeholder to be able to negotiate and trade. What will it take to get T. Higgins? Probably a lot. But you know what? It wouldn't be an honest list if I didn't put T. Higgins on there. He's probably like the #1 free agent out there overall. He's only 26 years old, and he's shown that he is a top-flight #1 X receiver. Those are hard to find. Another guy out there that has some familiarity with John Spytek is Chris Godwin. He does have an injury history. He's 29 years old, so he's just kind of exiting the peak of his prime. But he still has some really good years left, and he can be a really good mentor to some of the other players on this team, specifically the young wide receiving core. Now, I have a feeling that we're going to get a couple of playmakers in this draft. There's a lot there to be had. With the youth that we have on the offensive side of the ball, getting a guy like Godwin in there to be a veteran presence and to be productive would be a great win all around. All right, let's move to offensive tackle. Now, DJ Glaze last year was a big surprise, and he played really well, but let's not fall into that trap. Just because he's the best that we have, he may not be the best that we can get. Jedrick Wills from the Browns is only 26 years old, and he's a free agent. He showed a lot of good skill with the Browns. They didn't have much around him. I think we can get him for a pretty good deal and pretty cheap. And with a guy at 26 years old going into that Chip Kelly offense, I think we'll be able to do some good things with him. Another tackle that can be available from the 49ers is Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore is another young guy. He's only 27 years old, and he's super athletic. I think if he kind of falls between the cracks in free agency, because guys are going big game hunting with other names, this is a name to keep an eye on. Again, DJ Gliz did really well last season, but let's not fall into that trap. We need to have upgrades all around this roster. And if you can upgrade a little bit on your offensive line, even better. All right, let's take a look at the interior of the offensive line. First up is Will Freeze out of Indianapolis. He's only 27 years old, and this guy's a freaking stud. He had a little bit of injury history the last few years, but I think he's going to be okay because they weren't major things, just little nicks here and there. You get him on your team, get him in the interior of the offensive line, and you're going to have a stud right there from day one. He may be a little bit pricier than some of the other options, but he's definitely better and a good choice to go right into the offensive line. Another guy on the interior that we can get is Mekhi Becton. Look, Mekhi Becton may have been a bust at tackle, but he was a boom at guard. And I don't think it was all just because he played with that Eagles offensive line. He did really well himself. He's huge, he's massive, he can move. And he doesn't have to worry about edge rushers when you're playing on the interior. He's only 26 years old, and the injury histories seem to be in the past. Because of his name and just coming off a Super Bowl win, he may be a little bit pricey. He may price himself out of a lot of teams. But if we can get him on a good deal, he'll be a great catch and a big addition, literally and figuratively, to the offensive line interior. All right, sticking with the Eagles on defensive interior line, we have Milton Williams, defensive tackle. Again, only 26 years old, showed to be super productive. Now, they got a lot of players on this defensive line to pay. and they just paid Saquon Barkley a ton of money. So some of these guys may slip through the cracks, and that's the time that you jump. The Eagles' defensive line is super deep. They have a lot of guys, but they're also paying a lot of guys. Some of these guys are coming up on the contract, and they want to keep them happy. And it's better to pay a guy a little bit early than to pay him a little bit late and have to pay the premium price. Some of these guys are going to fall through the cracks. If Milton Williams is available, we need to get him, and we need to put him on the interior of the defensive line to make this defensive line a super monster. Another option is Levi Onwuzurike from the Lions. Dude, this guy's 27 years old, and the best for him is yet to come. He's a little underutilized earlier in his career, and he's come on late. He just fell through the cracks because a lot of people are making a lot of money over in Detroit. And sometimes this guys, you got to let them go because you can't keep everybody. But their loss can be our gain. If we don't get a guy early in the draft or we miss out on Williams, Onwuzurike is definitely a killer backup plan. All right, let's move out over to the defensive ends, edge rushers. Okay, look, I want Malcolm Koonce back. I think Malcolm Koonce was going to be a good mix of a good deal coming off of injury, familiarity with the defense and the players, and production. He was really good the second half of 2023, which had me so excited for the defense in 2024. He gets hurt, missed the year. Poor him. Could be good for us. But if he does end up slipping through the cracks, there's a couple of guys who are a little bit under the radar, and maybe not so much under the radar, who can be good fits for us. The first one is Chase Young from the Saints. Even though he's a name that's been thrown around for years, he's only 26 years old, man. His injury history seems to be a thing of the past as well, and he can definitely be a guy that can be a huge contributor on the defensive line. Imagine having Chase Young playing up opposite of Max Crosby with Christian Wilkins in the middle. I think he can have a career year with that defensive line. Okay, if that doesn't work out, there's also Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants. Ojulari is only 25 years old. I don't know why the Giants let him get to free agency. This dude is the freaking man. Now, I understand you have Thibodeau, you have Burns. You need more than two guys. And Ojulari is really skilled. And I think if you put him on the defensive line with guys like Crosby and Wilkins and maybe another defensive tackle that you sign or draft, he's going to be hugely successful and be able to make a ton of plays. Now, I want to make sure I say this again. I want Malcolm Koonce back, but you have to have a good backup plan, which is really the point of this video. All right, here's my pie in the sky thing, okay? I don't think they're going to let him go. But if he's available and you can get him, he's definitely an upgrade at the middle linebacker position. Dre Greenlaw out of the San Francisco 49ers. He's 28 years old, but he's still a highly productive player. This guy is a beast. He can cover. He can blitz. He can stop the run. He can take on tackles. He runs side out of sideline. He's a leader. He's smart. He's a coach on the field. He can do anything that you want on or off the field. This guy is going to be a face of the defense from day one. Imagine putting him and his motor and his fire with Max Crosby. Dude, that's going to be a killer defense. If we don't get Greenlaw, there's also a guy that Pete Carroll's a little bit familiar with, Ernest Jones from Seattle. And he's only 25 years old, and I think he's still getting better and better every season. I don't know why the Seahawks let him go to free agency. Maybe he wanted too much money. Maybe there's other guys that are priority. But anyway, that doesn't matter. That's their issue. Our issue is, how do we get him into the building? I love Robert Spillane. I was on Robert Spillane from before he even played a snap. I watched some of his tape his last half season with the Steelers, and I'm like, man, this guy's much better than he's given credit for, and he's much more than just a run stopper. But if I'm being completely honest, Greenlaw and Jones are just better players. They're also younger. So no shade on Spillane, man. I like him a lot, but we're trying to win games here, and the best players win games. All right, moving on to cornerback. Look, guys, we just got to face facts, okay? The Raiders had the worst coverage grade in their secondary last season in the NFL, like the absolute worst coverage grade. So it's not like bringing all these guys back is going to make us any better. If Nate Hobbs leaves, if he comes back, whatever, I'm fine with either one. But we still need to add more talent. Enter Byron Murphy, free agent from the Minnesota Vikings. Byron Murphy had 6 picks last year. Freaking 6. That's a ton. That's more than I think we had all season as a team. He was a bright spot in that Minnesota Vikings defense, and I think he would look really good in silver and black. The next corner on the list is pretty familiar to all of us. It's Asante Samuel Jr. from the Chargers. Now, look, this is like a dream scenario for us because up until last season, Asante Samuel Jr. has been really productive for the Chargers. He got hurt last year, it was a shoulder issue, it was nagging, and they just put on injury reserve, and his season was over 4 games in. But look, just like with Malcolm Koonce, you got a guy that's coming off an injury. The injury's healing up really well. You may be able to get him on a little cheaper deal. If we can find a way to get Asante Samuel Jr. on this team, he is going to be a huge upgrade. Not only that, we might get him on a pretty good deal, so it's a win-win. All right, now it comes to the big one. Our big free agent on the defensive side is Trevon Merrick. I want Trevon Merrick back. I think he's an excellent player, and he's just getting better. He just seemed to figure it out this last season, and man, he played really well. He was in the box. He was up deep. He was blitzing. He was covering the nickel. This guy was doing really well. But if he happens to leave because someone gives him a crazy deal, there's a couple of guys I think we can get that may be even better. Okay, hear me out on this, because Talanoa Hufanga has been injured. Look, in 2023, he tore his ACL. He came back fine in 2024. Or did he? He was just kind of in and out of the lineup. He only played 7 games. That's the only reason why San Francisco let him go. Look, he's an amazing player. I'm talking amazing player. If we can get him back on a nice deal, maybe sign 2 safeties, because you can get Hufanga maybe on a little bit of a lesser deal because he's coming off of 2 injury seasons. He's still really young, and I think he can still be really productive. And at 25 years old, he has time to get better. Next on the list is Javon Holland from Miami. Now, Holland is an amazing safety. He had a little bit of an issue with what's going on in Miami right now. I'm not sure why they let him go, but he's still a productive player. Honestly, I think Hufanga and Holland are better than Trevon Merrick. They adapted a little bit quicker to the NFL game, and they can do everything that Trevon Merrick can do. I would rather have Trevon Merrick back because I like him, and he was a Raider, and I want him to stay a Raider. But if you were to leave, we have a couple of options at safety that are pretty damn good. All right, guys, that's my time for today. I appreciate you listening in. If you're watching this video all the way through, or this multiple times you've watched one of my videos, go ahead and leave me a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. It really helps this channel grow, and it's the absolute bare minimum you can do to help this channel besides doing absolutely nothing. I appreciate you guys. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.